Hi all. I hung out today with a very dear person, and I'm going to link their stuff below. They are a local artist local to Minneapolis, but they do travel with their stuff, and this is a very lovely person. And this person is from Chicago, so we had a very interesting talk. They told me some things about I can say it's Liz. Everyone likes Liz. Liz is awesome. You have probably met her. I don't know why I'm trying to be secretive about her identity, because she is a very personable personality and she is wonderful. And I was told about there like huge things that are like very different contrasts. And me also not being from here and having been in a lot of other places, I've seen a lot of contrast to how people behave towards the police here and whatnot. And with that, getting started with that, police, because like police brutality is a huge issue, if you haven't noticed. Turns out the people in Chicago definitely have a more preferable attitude towards the police that fits to my liking. And it's like an overall thing, not just a punk queer thing. It's the overall treatment of between the community and the police, versus here, where it's very arguable that Minneapolis and St. Paul actually likes the police, which is very bad. It's the police. I mean, they weren't made from a good cause. They're former slave catchers, and then maybe once upon a time the police maybe were able to pose like they were what they say they are after that era ran dry. But now it's like it's a no holds barred on police brutality and the tyranny that our society is facing now. And some people put up with that more than others. Minneapolis, you'll see queers at Pride actually shaking the police officers' hands, which makes me want to vomit every time. Whereas in Pittsburgh, they have a different idea of the police that is more preferable to me. It's very strong in the queer punk scene because the scenes there in Pittsburgh are much stronger, I feel, from my perspective. And then Chicago, it's like it's nothing. It's full nothing. From what I understand, and as it should be, we should definitely get rid of the police. We should put a different system in place, because these people are shooting innocent people, and they have the ability to get away with it as long as they're still yet white men. And I know every video is about that, right? But so being in a place that's more my idea of how we should be as a society and how we should treat the police, I'm definitely all about that. So that's definitely one point towards Chicago. Versus here, where people claim to be radical and they claim to hate the police and stuff like that, and every other person has an everybody's welcome sign in their yard, and yet every other person is also a fucking cop caller. Some people do better about making community alternatives, I'll call it, to the police than others. And I find that Minneapolis has a very half-assed way of doing it. It's definitely a lot of talk, but not a lot of action. From what I've seen, the IWWs out here is pretty good. And the GDC is also pretty good, if you're familiar with those. Not every place that has an IWW has a GDC. But I think that every place that has a GDC has an IWW, as far as I understand it. And the IWW HQ, I've been told, doesn't really like that, because the IWW is not the GDC. But it works sometimes, but it definitely needs to be better. We need to make the police obsolete, and that is up to us as a community and as a society to do. And I'm going to gravitate more towards people that are looking to do that. And I was also told that, I brought this up. As I observed some of the homeless people around the Howard Station, I can't really say that I saw anybody that looks like me. And not just the Howard Station, but also downtown. It seemed like the people that were homeless out there were way rougher and way worse off. Of course, I'm saying that just looking at them, not really knowing their situations, but I've met I've met a lot of different types of homeless people, some traveling, some not, very much different attitudes and personalities. Contrary to popular belief, there's no one size fits all for a homeless person. But I didn't see anybody that was more like me about homelessness. Like, people just seemed really, like, worn out. I guess now that I'm trying to say it in my own words, I guess I don't really know how. But it's like I saw, like, you know, the people that we expect to see, the people that we're told that we're going to see, people with substance abuse problems, mental health problems, and stuff like that. But I didn't see, you know, if you've been a traveling homeless person, you know what I'm talking about when I say this, but I don't really know how to explain it to any normie that would be watching. Or somebody who also isn't familiar with the homeless population in Cleveland versus homeless populations in other places, where people are homeless that don't have substance abuse problems and mental health problems, at least not to that degree. But it seems, as Liz put it, the situation out there is more dire. And whereas I would feel comfortable sleeping out in the streets or in the parks in Minneapolis, I can tell that would not be that great an option in Chicago. So it makes it even more important to try to find a place to stay, rather than just going out there like I usually do. In Philadelphia, it's not that hard to find a place to find some peace and quiet. But I can tell in Cleveland, it's not nearly that. In Chicago, it's not nearly that easy. In Cleveland, you can also find places of peace and quiet, but Chicago, every place is its own beast, and the beast that is facing Chicago is that it's big and it's expanded and it's crowded and there's a lot of traffic. So it's harder to find peace and quiet in the inner city part of Chicago. But I might be willing to face it. We'll definitely see what happens. This is a very rare occasion where I actually look at a place first and actually choose if I want to start all over with a place. And in being able, if I had this opportunity and being able to look at it with Philadelphia, I definitely wouldn't have stopped in Philadelphia. So I'm very appreciative to have this option of choice and opportunity. So I guess we just see what happens from there. But right now, I'm definitely considering Chicago for its better queer and punk scene and its anti-police nature. So, see y'all later. Take care of yourselves and each other, and kill your local rapists and abolish the police. Bye.